Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, The New Powerpuff Girls, and Voltron Legendary Defender. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Justin Cummings.
Hello, Internet.
Today, Justin and I will be having the third of Overly Animated Podcast's weekly Miraculous Ladybug roundtables, discussing a specific topic in Miraculous Ladybug. We're doing these every week at the Overly Animated Podcast. You can check us out at overlyanimated.com or search for the Overly Animated Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher. Delaney and I went through all the episodes of Miraculous Ladybug. You can check out all our episode discussions for that. And now we're continuing on discussion even in the off season with specific topic discussions. No Delaney today, but Justin and I will be having the first of our the first of the podcast four shipping Marinette Adrian shipping podcasts, discussing every angle of the possible Marinette Adrian romance. Today's we are starting off with Marichat, aka Marinette and Chat Noir. This is specifically just these two. I mean, you guys are the fandom, you know, like there's a separate ship name for each of these combinations. So just Chat Noir and Marinette today, and we'll get into the other aspects of the square of their, I don't know, the divided square of their
the Mendel square of shipping.
Yeah, exactly, of their shipping. So let's get into this. So I think that the approach to this is pretty simple. This is your favorite of the four possible
Yes.
Marinette and Adrians, and this is my least favorite of the four possible. So we have a clear premise to this podcast, which is I'm out on Marichat, you're in on Marichat. So we're gonna have a good discussion with that.
Yes.
So I'd first like to say that a disclaimer is that these are all the same thing. Like it's kind of silly to say I'm out on Marichat, but super in on Ladrian, which I am. Like I'm way more in on Ladrian than Marichat, but they're all just the same thing. Like in general, like I support Marinette and Adrian together, right? Like it's that's what it is. But since we're getting into these weird specifics, we can talk about it, and it is valid because they don't know who each other is, right? So it is separate entities to them. So let's first talk about let's give you the floor first. What is it about Chat Noir and Marinette, specifically in this combination, that you find appealing?
I think it's the fact that it's not just we have like the least evidence, I think, on the show based on my attempt at research. They appear the least often, but it's also the most unlikely because Adrian has the thing for Ladybug. Marinette, of course, likes Adrian. So Chat Noir and Marinette seems the least likely of the four. But I think it's the fact that it is the least likely that I do enjoy it because it's almost the underdog ship, like against all the odds. It shouldn't happen, but for whatever reason, it's just so enjoyable to watch their interactions, and I think it's because it shouldn't work that I want it to work.
So okay, I get that it's the underdog ship, but what is it about? Do you like? Is this your favorite form of cat? Do you like him more as his
I love
punny,
I love cheesy, punny.
Yeah,
Because he's not to the point where he's like chauvinistic, but he's definitely kind of that show-offy, trying to be more suave than he actually is. And I think it's very enjoyable to watch. And then Marinette, who of course knows that she's used to seeing him as Cat Noir when she's Ladybug, and so kind of seeing this with not Ladybug, she's just amused by the whole thing. So I think there's that kind of dynamic as well. Because disclosure, I do like Cat Noir. I know you're kind of anti-Cat, more Adrian, personality-wise.
yeah. But you're more pro. Okay, so I can see it from that angle. If you're more pro cat, like then
I love Cat.
Yeah. I think this ship is like the most sarcastic of like the possibilities. Like you have Cat being like his he's kind of dry humor as Cat naturally, and then you have Marinette just kind of mocking him, like because it's like, oh, this is this stupid Cat Noir guy who I always hang out with, right? So I think it's interesting. Yeah. So the underdog aspect is a good point to bring up. So there's this image out there somewhere. I didn't look for it right now, but it's like the four possible combinations of these two, and which makes Marinette and Adrian happy. And when they're Marinette and Adrian, this makes Marinette happy because she likes Adrian, but doesn't make Adrian happy because Adrian likes Ladybug, not Marinette.
Right.
When they're Ladrian, it makes both of them happy, which means it's the best one, obviously. And then when it's Marichat, it makes neither of them happy. So that's
I think it's because it goes against kind of the expectation. I think the reason I like this ship is, in order for it to happen, it would take Marinette realizing there's a guy other than Adrian in the entire world, because she does kind of seem, she's obsessed. Let's be real. There's the photos all over her room. She's very much Adrian centered. So I think it would take her realizing that there are other guys other than Adrian, and it would take Adrian realizing that it's not going to happen with Ladybug, but here's Marinette, who's a real girl, and he knows he has a genuine chance of her because he actually knows who she is. Like, as Adrian, he's met her, they're friends, he knows this is a thing, and he does seem to actually care about Marinette, at least to an extent.
right. That's an interesting point. Let's talk about it from each of their perspectives. That's a good way to break it down. So from Adrian's perspective, this is his classmate, Marinette, who he, depending on the point we're talking about in the series, kind of considers a friend. Or I guess at any point in the series, because in the Origins he says...
Except the beginning of Origins, they're basically friends.
Right, yeah. So, which I don't think super gels with the first half of season 1. Like, I don't know if I would, like, the friend moniker really fits their relationship. But, whatever. They're at least, like, friendly acquaintances.
Yeah.
So, it does seem like normal Adrian does not consider Marinette to be of romantic interest, basically. But it's not like he doesn't seem to have a strong opinion about Marinette either way, I guess.
Right.
Except in Origins, when it's like my first friend, but I don't know if that's specifically about her. I just feel like it's kind of blasé towards her in general. Except maybe in Gamer, that's going to be more of our Marinette Adriette's our podcast, right? But so it's just his classmate, right? So that's interesting.
Right.
From Marinette's perspective, this is
it's her cheesy partner still being cheesy.
Right. So it's like, this is a very familiar circumstance, but I have to pretend to be different around him because he doesn't see me as Ladybug here.
Can I quote a webisode?
Yeah.
Or
I was gonna talk. I'll quote it then, because this is an important point to bring up. So we haven't done the webisodes yet. We haven't seen the webisodes yet. We're gonna do those. We're gonna need Delaney for that, so not this week, but this is an important point that I've heard before. I think one of the commentators has told me this, but this is from the Miraculous Wiki. If I can, find it. But in a webisode, Marinette says she would possibly give Cat Noir a chance if Adrian did not exist, though she immediately dismisses the thought because she doesn't want to think about a world without Adrian. So that's kind of what you were saying, right?
Yeah, she's so Adrian centered.
Yeah. And I think that the webisodes are slightly less canon. Like, whatever, yell at me now.
I think they are confirmed to be.
They're canon, but there's if you've heard me before talking on the podcast, there's levels of canon in my mind. But so I'd like to focus on Marinette in the show, right? But
Okay,
this is clearly something that is in the canon of the show, and I think it does make sense for the most part. In the actual show, we've never really heard Adrian consider Cat Noir. I don't know if this would make sense at what point in the series. I don't know under what circumstance we would ever see. I mean, I guess we'll see the webisode, which is probably just her talking. Like,
right.
But
yeah, it's her in front of a webcam.
Right. So that makes sense. But like, I don't know in what context we'd ever hear Marinette, or like what mind is Marinette thinking about Cat Noir in a romantic sense. I think that's an interesting mindset. Like, I don't think
probably
that's the
a conversation with Tiki.
Like, right, I could see that. Yeah.
Like, I could see after a fight, oh man, Cat Noir was extra cheesy today, and then Tiki's like, well, he is kind of cute.
Oh,
and
Tiki. calling human beings attractive would be
Because you hate
terrifying.
Tiki, her shipping
Look, I don't
Cat Noir, Maricat makes sense.
Marichat. I don't hate Tiki. I'm terrified of Tiki. There is a difference. But yeah, no, Tiki would ship my least favorite ship, right? Like that makes sense.
And I like Tiki, so
Okay, so that yeah. But that yeah, it's kind of interesting, Marinette considering Cat Noir as a romantic angle. To a certain extent, I don't think these things matter. Like I don't think it particularly matters what Marinette thinks of Cat Noir romantically or what Cat thinks of Marinette romantically because I believe the schemas will merge in their minds soon. We discussed this last week. It's like when are they going to find out about each other? But I think we're much more likely to see them. Like, I mean, I guess, like, okay, here's the point. It doesn't matter once the schemas merge. And by schema, I mean a concept of something. So in Marinette's mind, she has separate concepts of Cat and Adrian. Once she realizes that Adrian is Cat, these will merge into one being, and it is now irrelevant what she thinks of Cat. Like it's not irrelevant; it'll factor into this new schema, but
right.
It's just not a separate thing.
They
So
become more two personality or character traits more of one person as opposed
as
to two people.
as we see them, right? So
Right.
so like I don't know if it's ever going to be relevant their different schemas because unless like there's some like date episode like if Marinette I mean if or you could see like Marinette and Cat start dating or Ladybug and Adrian start dating but they still don't know it's each other. That'd be pretty stupid, but something like that, right? But like that my general point is like once they find out about each other, these things are like and I do think like Marinette's schema of Cat Noir will largely be very much circumvented by her feelings for Adrian. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that's interesting because Marinette not super high on Cat, but I do think she also is super high on Cat. Like
I think I think she kind of plays down. I mean, she clearly does care about Cat. It's her
yeah.
partner. She
Mm-hmm.
trusts him. Basically, she trusts him with her life. If you look like at, it's dangerous what they do being superheroes. So the fact that she trusts him as a partner means she does actually care about him and does, to an extent, trust him, like I said. And so I think that's why it kind of makes sense for him to come up in her mind because they are together so often. She does have to trust him so much. And so I think she cares and is more high on Cat Noir than she gives away, especially to Cat Noir, because the way their banter works, you give him an inch, he takes a mile.
Yeah, I think largely the view of Cat is a result of them both being heroes and a result of this personality Cat is putting on. Like I think that if Marinette spent most of her time with Cat as Marinette, I don't think it would be the same. Because I don't think that there wouldn't. You're right. There wouldn't be like that back and forth that she has when she's Ladybug. So I don't think it would. Like Cat wouldn't spend most of his time like teasing and making puns, right? So
Right. Well, if they're only ever together when he's Cat, I think as long as he is as Cat, he will put on that kind of honey
yeah.
cheese just to maintain that public image.
Yeah, to a certain extent, but like if like he frequently hung out with Marinette, like if they started dating or something, yeah, I don't think he'd do that most of the
He'd
time.
probably dial it down a bit. You're right.
Yeah, for like I think a lot of the Cat dynamic is because it's Ladybug and Cat. Like I think that's a thing. Like of course Adrian is puts on his Cat personality because he's it's like an escape from his monotonous like trapped life and he's freed and he wants to put on more confidence and stuff like that, right?
Right.
But I do think it's over the top because Marinette pushes back on him. Like I think that's like largely the reason their dynamic has persisted, or else he kind of just would get bored if she just kind of never responded. Like I think that's
Right.
pretty clear. I don't know. What do you think about that? What's the fanfic in your mind of Cat dating Marinette? Like how do you think he treats her?
The fanfic in my mind of Cat dating Marinette is that he treats her like his Ladybug. I think that he would. Yeah, yeah. No one seems to like it when I say that.
Or Cat when Cat says that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like when Cat says it. Um, I think he would. He'd put her on a pedestal. He would. He's. I think when he is Cat, at least, and I'm assuming this is actually part of his character anyway. But he does kind of have this chivalrous attitude. I think that would maintain even if the puns drop a bit. So I think we'd see Marinette probably putting on a bit more of, oh, Cat Noir. I think it would drop after a while, like what we saw the first time they met of, oh my goodness, you're Cat Noir. That would probably drop. But I think for the most part, she would kind of maintain. She'd probably. The real question, honestly, is not how they would interact. If Cat Noir and Marinette are dating, how do Cat Noir and Ladybug start interacting?
No, no, no.
Does he keep.
These are two big questions. Let's answer the first one first. That's a good point, though. But yeah, I think that okay, if they're dating, then yeah. So I think it's Marinette's actions as Ladybug are really interesting. But yeah, I agree. Like to a certain extent, he would how he treats Ladybug would be how he treats Marinette. With kind of this super chivalrous thing, which is a large part of the thing that he puts on, and one of the more unsympathetic elements IMO. But it's
I like the chivalry. It gets a bit much, but I like that kind gentlemanly, cutesy. I'm a cheesy person in general, Dylan.
I'm aware of that. It's hard to separate that from like the over the topness, I guess, because he just so often takes it over the top. Like occasionally, like Marinette as Ladybug actually responds okay to some of them when he's not being over the top, but those are just like hard to separate a little bit. But yeah, I think he would act like that. How Marinette would act. That's really hard to imagine. Like it's so different than how she treats Cat right now. So I don't even know. Like I don't know. I think it would be. It wouldn't be like how she treated Adrian.
No, I think it would be some weird hybrid.
Yeah, I think she would be like confident and teasing with him. Like I think that's I think that's the angle for your fic is like it's like how she acts as Ladybug, but like in I feel like how Marinette acts as Ladybug dating Cat is pretty similar to how Marinette acts as Marinette dating Cat.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So it's a weird thing to imagine though, because we've never seen Marinette in a romantic circumstance that's not her just like falling over her feet, right? Like
right.
So it's an interesting one. But yeah, that's a good point. Like if Marinette and Cat started dating, then how does Marinette act as Ladybug with Cat?
That's a good question, because I mean, not only because I think Ladybug would probably, well, how Ladybug acts depends on how Cat Noir changes.
Cat would probably be like super guilty with her and stuff like that. Like
yeah.
Like I don't think he'd be bragging to her. I think he'd be like, he'd start being bashful and like
he'd probably be bashful. No, probably what would happen is immediately he would stop all the cutesiness. She would, obviously knowing what's happening, she would start teasing him about it. Oh, what's wrong? Cat got your tongue?
Yeah.
And that it would be that line, I guarantee it. And then he'd be all bashful, yeah, probably is what we'd see. And then I think we'd get a really interesting dynamic, because it would then be kind of Ladybug messing with Cat Noir a bit instead, and then Cat Noir being the one that gets all flustered.
Yeah. I think I actually want to see. I want this scenario just for this. Like,
I need to stop you right there. Did I just convince you of a ship?
No, you convinced me of a good part of one aspect of fanfic.
That's the most that I will ever accomplish.
Yeah. Probably, yes, but it's just that possible dynamic of her Cat starting to be like bashful towards her and like kind of like apologetic or something, because in his mind he's probably also going to be like cheating on her, like even if it's like they're not actually dating, because in his mind they're kind of dating, and I think that's probably true. And Marinette would take up the moniker of like being super teasing with him and stuff. That would be super interesting. That role reversal
kind of flip season 1's dynamic on its head.
Yeah, I'd really like that. Let's go over the Marichat moments we get in the show, which are not many. So apparently the big one is Evil Strader, and you've seen this episode more recently than me.
Yes.
What do we get in Evil Strader with Marichat?
This is the one where the akumatized classmate, I think it's Nathaniel.
Yeah.
He obviously we all know crushing on Marinette. So I think Marinette as Ladybug kind of plans this thing. Like Ladybug says to Cat, hey, he likes this girl Marinette. Here's her address. Cat goes, meets Marinette. is being very Cat. She's kind of like mocking him, talking with the hand thing behind his back. It's adorable. Um, and so she goes on this kind of fake date with the evil illustrator to kind of lure him to Cat Noir. Cat's kind of watching in the background. And some people are saying Cat kind of gets a bit jealous watching them, which was kind of where all the Marichat shipping started.
Hmm.
So you can blame solely this episode. And I think I think that was kind of all of that episode. Oh, Adrian does ask Marinette, like Adrian as Adrian asks her, "What do you think of Cat Noir?" And she's kind of like teasy about it, like, "Oh, he's okay," or something
Yeah.
like that. What she tries to say is that he's cool, but she likes Adrian better. But of course, being Marinette, she gets all flustered, and so Adrian somehow hears it as, "I like Cat Noir more than you."
Hmm.
So that's how that all happened.
Hmm.
And then the only other time that I can recall we see those two together is Antibug, and I don't even remember what happened in that episode.
Oh, you're supposed to be our expert, though.
I binge watched like 13 episodes in a row. They all blend.
Yeah. I mean, they're all the same thing over and over. But yeah, we here's a description from a Tumblr post. It seems Cat is just as flirty around Marinette as he is around Ladybug. Marinette is also shown to be just as sassy around Cat, mocking him behind his back and being sarcastic. For some reason, there's a lot of fics that have him showing up at a roof after the Evil Strader incident. They get to know one another better and end up falling for one another. Okay, obviously. What do you mean for some reason?
I gotta read and reblog these.
No. Keep them to yourself, IMO, but
I will send them all to you.
but yeah, so I think that's an interesting dynamic. So what did Marinette put on in Evil Strader? Like she's mocking him behind his back. Does she put on a innocent girl vibe type thing?
Oh, Cat Noir, are you here to save me? What's wrong?
Does she say that?
Not. It's kind of that attitude. I think she does
Okay.
say, "Aren't you Cat Noir?"
Yeah.
That kind of wow. Think how Chloe acts around Ladybug. It's
Yeah.
basically that.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I do like Marinette kind of like putting on a face for him. That's pretty interesting.
It's adorable.
Okay, so I guess let me get into my gripes about the ship. We've talked a lot about the positives, and then we can speculate on where any sort of Marichat might be going. So, large part, it's pretty simple reason why this is my least favorite of the four. This is the male power, female not power dynamic. This is the typical thing that you see in heteronormative media, and it's I'm not pushing all of that specifically onto this pairing, but it's representative of it, I guess. In like I've talked about it a lot before. I like Adrian better as Adrian and not as Cat, mostly because of the super confident like facade he puts on. Is way too over the top, and even if, like you said before, it's not specifically chauvinistic, it gets into that sort of territory. Even if it's not specifically that, which I agree, it like brings up those memories of other media. Like I think it's understandable why I might be reminded of other problematic things, even if the specific thing is not problematic. And just the concept of Marinette kind of fawning over the superhero is not something I'm super interested in, because a lot of what I love about Marinette is her as confident Ladybug. So I like Marinette as Marinette, so it's not Marinette being Marinette and not Ladybug, which is the problem with this. I just feel like it's the power imbalance, which is my main thing about this. Although a lot of the stuff we've discussed has been pretty interesting, because it does do interesting things with Marinette's character and puts them in more of equal playing field, I guess, if they would interact more. And I think that's probably where Delaney would say she was this would too, except maybe stronger language. But yeah, I mean, like the thing with Cat is like if he's ever gonna actually be in a romantic thing with any form of Marinette, he needs to obviously tone it down.
Yeah, I think he would. I think because if not for in-universe reasons, it would get old really fast.
Yeah, like it would just be annoying.
Yes, it wouldn't make good TV.
Well, and like also Marinette, I think, would be annoyed by it too. But it's just like it's not. I understand a lot of people like Cat and like how he's confident as Cat.
Hi.
Right. Also fangirls. I guess we can put you under this category for Cat. You're the resident Cat fangirl of the podcast, but
Hashtag it.
hashtag resident Cat fangirl. Yeah. But I think that's that's the good part of him as Cat. The bad part is him not like restraining it and potentially pushing it onto other people too far. And like I feel like their dynamic would be much better if he was just more blasé a little bit in their relationship, him and Ladybug.
Right.
And I think it's like mostly self-inflicted, and it's basically like we saw like the literal embodiment of it in the Origins episode when Plog is like explaining all the powers, and he's like, "No, I gotta go right now," and Plog doesn't finish. It's like he's too excited about like getting out of his like trapped daily life. And of course, I understand that, and I sympathize with Adrian, but how it manifests, I feel like, is pretty problematic. I think he needs to learn how to channel this difference, and like once his daily life is freed up and he's more of a balanced person, he gets to do more of what he wants to do, then he won't need to channel all this into Cat, and he'll be more of himself. I really think a lot of the over the topness isn't himself, even if the confidence that he's putting on is.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my big speech about Cat in this. So
I,
yeah, go ahead.
in defense of Cat, we know they have superheroes in this world. Like we've seen superhero comic books. Like we know fictional superheroes exist. My thinking is Cat Adrian trying to do what he thinks a superhero is? That kind of over the top, typically chauvinistic, but I mean, of course, he's not, so he's not going to go completely overboard with that. But what I'm trying to say is he trying to reflect what he sees in their presumably heteronormative media? So is he basically a representation of those elements?
Yeah, and I think that has to do with a lot of his like eagerness and channeling his wanting to be freed, and he like channels it into this perception he has of what a superhero is. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. He probably sees whatever version of Spider-Man they have, and he like wants to channel his energy, and he's like, oh, I'm in this persona now, how do I act? It's probably like that. I think that's a big element. I think you can relate it to what I was talking about as well.
And I think, yeah, and I think it actually goes farther than that. I mean, it honestly makes sense. Look at Marinette basically channeling Captain Marvel, which is basically what Alia's book we saw was kind of getting at, was Captain Marvel. So I think
Right.
this idea of them trying to understand what it means kind of goes with that. I don't know how much it does, but I think it's an interesting element.
Yeah, I think Marinette's. My initial reaction would be that Marinette's more genuine as Ladybug, but it's possible she's also trying to uphold to a standard that she sees in Alia's book comic book, right? Yeah, I think
Right.
that's possible.
She's trying to be that independent. She's trying to break the norm, basically.
Yeah, my initial reaction would be to push back a little bit because I do see Marinette as Ladybug as very much like a genuine aspect of Marinette, but I also think Cat as Adrian as Cat is that to a certain extent.
I think they. I think the thing with both of them is both forms, their civilian and their superhero identity, are aspects of them. But I think being in a costume, being in that kind of extraordinary situation of saving the day, that's gonna make things become. Being in that kind of out of the ordinary situation will make you act a bit more extraordinary, I guess. So I think both are genuine aspects. They just might get played up a bit more than they would in other circumstances. I think due to the extraordinary nature of being superheroes running around Paris in middle school.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also think that I think that they're both. Yeah, I think that Marinette's channeling, like her what she puts into her superhero, it comes across better. I mean, people. I don't know, there's a big disconnect with me and Delaney in the fandom on like how Cat acts, I guess. But from my perspective, the way Marinette acts as Ladybug, much more like sympathetic from like a societal perspective than Cat. But I think that makes sense given what I said about Cat kind of having to channel what he lacks in his daily life. Marinette, I think, is much
Right.
more of a fulfilling real life, and she has like this very loving family, and she still tries to make up for her lack of self confidence, as we saw in Origins, but she has much less to try to overcome, I guess, than Adrian, who really puts this bad circumstances and this kind of abusive father into the manifestation of him as a superhero.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a good parallel there. Marinette basically makes up for her lack of self confidence, while Adrian kind of makes up for his lack of self expression, I guess.
Yeah,
Would be
like
the best way to
self-expression and
describe it.
freedom, right?
Right. They
Yeah,
both kind of try to present what they're lacking.
yeah, yeah. And I think this is a little off topic, but I think it's a great thing to talk about.
We
That's
had 2 episodes to discuss. It's
yeah.
the least founded ship there is. We're gonna get off topic, or it's
Well,
gonna be
I
10
feel like
minutes.
Ladrian has less going on, but but yeah,
But you
it's
like Laser, and you'll
so
guess.
I'll talk about it for like the half an hour at least. Yeah, so um, yeah, I think that's probably the best I've ever been able to explain this thing. Yeah, about how their superhero things come on based on their real life. So I think it's, and again, like the reason that I think it's just very paramount. Like the reason Adrian acts at all unsympathetically is because of like his real life circumstances, which are bad. So, and I think the show like goes out of its way to explain that. Like it's pretty clear.
Right.
Okay, let's speculate on any Marichat we might see in the future. So, over under number of times we will see this combination of the two of them in season 2, 1.5.
Over, but barely. I think we're gonna see it twice. I think we saw it twice in season 1. We're probably gonna see it twice in season 2, and I don't think either of them will be very substantial.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends where they go with this.
They're not going anywhere with it, Dylan. This podcast is pointless because this whole thing is pointless. It's pure fandom.
The only reason that it's pointless, I think, is if the identities get revealed. Because if not, then this is still very relevant.
But I don't think the show. I think the show prefers Ladrian. Like I think they,
Ladrian does
especially
not
at the
have.
end of the
That's not.
season, they started getting into that because I think it's about the same number of times we see it, but we saw them closer together. It's like once they found that, they're like, "Ooh, we like this combination. Let's keep it." There was a huge gap on Marichat.
I guess it's hard to tell when the episodes are supposed to air. I think Ladrian just pops more because they both have feelings in that one. Like, I think that it might seem like the show prefers it just because it's like we had that dramatic shot of them looking at each other. But
I also think I think the dynamic plays better on screen just because of Adrian's kind of scrambling we typically see.
yeah,
Shower scene and all those stuff, and
I wonder if
I'll make sure Adrian's. I think it just plays better on screen, even if it's not a better actual dynamic.
yeah, well, it is a better dynamic, but
Well, that's irregardless.
we'll talk about that in a future one. I think they'll do something substantial with Marichat, and I think I don't know, what are they gonna do? Like not explore all the facets of this? Like this is the main aspect of the show right now. I feel like is the fact that these two have don't know who each other are and have the romantic feelings in different forms. And like, yeah, this is stupid shipping, like dividing them into 4 ships, but it also really is like the main gimmick of the show, which is them liking each other but not knowing who each other are. So I think that this is just a manifestation of the main aspect of the show. So I do think it'll be explored. I guess I'll take over, but you're right, it wouldn't be by a lot. Like, but I'm gonna take like a 2 or a 3 with like a whole episode about it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like I could totally see that. And it's not like I would hate it. Like, I don't know, like this is interesting. I mean, this has been an engaging like discussion on the two of them. So I think
Do you think it will be if we get a full episode? I guarantee we're gonna get a Marichat date.
Yeah.
Do you think it will be a genuine Marichat date, or it will be some? Because this has happened many, many, many times in children's programming. Do you think we'll get the win a date with Cat Noir?
Right. They could do that. I'm surprised they didn't do that in season 1. Like
I'm
they did.
shocked they haven't done
They
it.
did the win be an Adrian's photo shoot. So that's kind of that, right? But
Yeah, but Cat would make the contest himself. Like,
yeah,
he would start his own contest. Actually, would he? Because they'll make it work.
I think that it also could be like someone. I mean, I don't know who they know, but if they both know someone, then they could like set it up or something. Who do they know? They don't really know people, but yeah, I don't. It has to be like the influence of someone else. It's not like they're gonna like he's gonna like one of them's gonna ask the other on a date or something. It's like some circumstance. And I think this is like more than a villain plot too. Like more than one of them being akumatized or something stupid.
Oh no, it's not going to
Yeah.
be a villain plot. I think
I
it will be. I think the Akuma will pop up while they are on this date.
yeah.
And so Cat Noir's like, stay here. And she's like, okay, sure. And then the moment he's gone, she runs off.
Yeah, I mean, it writes itself, right? Like you can do
Yeah.
that under the win a date scenario. I mean, these episodes, and I think we're going somewhere different with the structure, but given the season 1 structure, it's a very easy thing to imagine.
But I think we're still going to have filler occasionally. I don't think they're going to get rid of filler.
Right. Yeah, it does seem, based on the way they described it, it's like plot arcs, which is not like the same thing as saying the entire season is serialized. So, yeah. Question though, the big question though is, will we get kind of a romantic moment between the two? Even if we have this like jokey date type thing, will it ever turn like I could see a moment where they have like, oh, we have a genuine connection type moment, and they look at each other for a little bit, like we had with the Ladrian, although that was just based on other feelings. This would be like an actual development of these two in their combination.
I think we will. I think if we get a full episode like that, I think we'll have at least a brief moment, even if it's kind of nullified.
Yeah.
Like, I think we'll still get that connection, even if immediately after Marinette goes to Tiki, oh, he's nice, but I still prefer Adrian. Or something like that that's just nullified. But I think we will get that moment.
Yeah, it's like that moment happens, and then the Akuma like does something, right? Like that's it gets like interrupted. But like here's the general thing: if I'm the show, if I'm the writers on the show, if we're going to reveal the identities, I want to fully explore the possibilities with this before we do it. And that was largely what season 1 is about. But if like, let's say like we say, okay, season 2, the finale, the identities are revealed. I'm like, let's go all out with this before then. We're going to have this Marichat date. We're going to have like this Ladrian date in a different circumstance. You know, like I want to explore everything about it. That's why I think that we're going to have some big thing with this, though. Like,
right.
And it's like, yeah, we're going to be distracted by some new characters, some new plots and stuff, but I still feel like this is the main aspect of the show for now.
Right.
So I don't know. That's where I'm at. Maybe it's there's the optimistic prediction for shippers, but
hi.
Hi, but I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, I think that's good for the Marichat discussion. There's other aspects. All of these are also related. So as we go to the other ones, we'll probably hit back on this. Like we talked about Ladrian a fair amount in this. And we also talked about Lady Noir indirectly by talking about them as like their superhero personas. But yeah, I think it'll be good. Any other comments on Marichat you want to get out?
It's adorable. I like it. I don't know why I like it so much. I mean, I know it is kind of like that traditional, like we've seen it a million times, but I like tropey done right. Like that's my thing.
Yeah.
Is it can be tropey and stereotypical all at once as long as it's still good. As long as it's not boring and generic. As long as they do something good with it. I don't care if it's tropey because
but I think
we have enough animated series that we can have a little bit of tropey still happening.
And this is the tropey show to a large extent, so I think that's fair. I don't think we've seen enough of Marichat to know whether it's like done right or like done typically. You know, like we'd have to see more. But at least like in an idealized form, which is what shipping is, like I could understand that. You know.
Yeah.
So fair, and it's like ship the tropey thing on the tropey show. But I think that's a fair point. So let us know your comments on Marichat. I'm sure there are many on what we didn't discuss and stuff like that. It's not an extensive discussion. We can always revisit it. You go to YouTube on our YouTube video. You can leave comments overlyanimated.com. You can click on the article and leave comments there, or send Tumblr asks. I'll try to respond to all the YouTube comments and comments on the website. Let us know what you thought of our discussions on the two, what your season 2 predictions are from Marichat, and it's going to be interesting. I'm Dylan Ice, and that's Justin Cummings. Overlyanimated.com is you can check us out for all our Ladybug and other shows discussion. Like I said, we're discussing Ladybug every week, so please subscribe to us on iTunes or YouTube to make sure you get all of our Miraculous Ladybug discussions. We are the only Miraculous Ladybug podcast listed on iTunes, so this is your go-to place, at least out of listed podcasts.
We own your fandom.
Exactly. And also this is our 200th podcast, so yay, thank you guys for listening. We just had our big 1 year anniversary, so that'll be most of our speeches and stuff at the end of that. But I do think it's somewhat appropriate for this to be a Ladybug podcast, because these are the most support we've gotten has been through our Miraculous Ladybug podcast. Thank you guys very much for listening to these and for supporting us, and we continue to discuss the show because of you guys. Our ad-free podcast is brought to you by our patrons. You can support us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, Rachel, John, Ryan, Catherine, Taylor, and Devon, aka FIFA Merch, Canonier, Beach Exchange, Nathan Fillion, Buzz Lightyear, Mailman, Richard Rose, Johnny Bravo, Brian, Cook, Cat, Needle, and still to be determined. Next week, we'll be back potentially with the webisodes, potentially with another aspect on the shipping wheel, potentially with something else. We'll see. And thanks for listening. We will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.